first, make sure to always warm up. Get the heart rate up, body warm, blood circulating, greasing the joints, especially shoulders and hips. A good habit is to always start training with shadow boxing. So when you're shadow boxing, make sure you feel loose. Make sure you're extending your shots. Make sure you're not tense. Take your time when you're shadow boxing. Feel the movements. If you want to know more about how to shadow box in detail, here's a video. You're going to place your shin across horizontal. You're going to lean into the bag a little bit. Make sure the bottom of your shin, top of your foot is touching. Lean into it a little bit, so it should be easy to hold it up. If you're struggling, you haven't found that balancing point. You want to find that balancing point, because this is where you're going to go. This is where you're going to go into your kick. So here, and extend the hips. Make sure it's not unlocked like that. So you got to extend the hips. You hold it there. All right. So this is calibrating it. So think of this as you're lining up the tree with the axe. So you're just lining it up. That's my target. Then you can go hard. So from here, I'll line it up. Yep. Do that for a minute or so, and then I'll, with the same technique, yep. Hip. Hip. See, same technique. So sometimes if you feel that your kicks are a little sloppy or you're just not feeling good with your kicks, do this drill and it'll calibrate it for you. We'll do the push kicks now, the teeps. So this one, if you can see my foot, when you connect, you want your foot to be extended and toes up. So foot extended, toes up, not flat. Think about stabbing the bag with the ball of your foot. So the only part of your foot that you should feel is the ball stabbing into the bag. You want the bag to move back. All right. If the bag, so we're here, it's stabbed, it folded in half. That's perfect. That's what I want. If I hit it and it spins, that's feedback to say that I didn't hit it in the middle. It wasn't center. So you want it to be accurate and you want it to be precise. It doesn't even have to have power, but if you hit it in the right spot, they'll go flying off balance. So you want your teep to be perfect in the middle. You don't want the bag to spin. Start off with very simple, the front push kicks. So you get your distance, so you can be familiar with the distances. So the front push kick is usually, well, it depends. It depends on the length of your limbs in relation to each other, but for me, I'm here. Mine is 1 inch behind my jab. So this is my jab range, 1 inch behind. That's ideal for me. Find your ideal. Ideal is when you make contact. There's a little bend, and then when you fully extend, there's about this much after the full extension. And you got to play with it and find where it's the best spot for you. Yeah. All right. Make sure you lift and extend. And just play with that. And most common mistake. I'll just show it to you. Don't let the bag throw you backwards. You got to push the bag backwards. You got to stay solid. So to fix that, you just got to hinge forward. If you're going back, this is what's happening. You're too straight, right? Instead, you want to tip your body forward, hinge forward, just like a deadlift. You unlock, or just like if there's a chair behind you, you pop your bum out. It's kind of like that. So here, the bottom foot has to be flat, anchored, and there's no way, you know, that counterbalances the force from the bag. So if you're getting thrown back, just slightly lean forward and make sure your back foot is planted. If you're on the ball of your foot, you're going to get thrown back as well. It's a weak push kick. Do that for at least a minute, you know, whatever. Spend a lot of times with repetition. When you do the other side, slight step in. Because normally if we're in fighting range and I want to do the back leg is longer. It's a longer teep than the front one. So to adjust for that, I would step back. If I'm this far back, I don't have to step back. If I'm in punching range, I've got to step back, otherwise I'll be cramped. So I'll step back. Sometimes I have to step in southpaw. You know, you can push kick from close. Now we could be here, bam, 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 you know, and I could whoop, boom. So you can do that, play with that. Now we'll get the knees going. Very simple drill. Knee the bag, back and forth. Now when you knee the bag, you want to aim to fold the bag in half. That's what you want to aim for. The most common mistake is people will knee up without extending their hip and scrape their knee. So if your knee's getting scraped and then there's skin on the bag, you're doing it wrong. The knee is like the straight knee is like a straight punch. It goes in, not diagonal up, in. So you have to take your time and find it. From here, I line up the bag's between my legs. So that's how you line up the bag, just as a reminder. Knees past the bag. So now I'm in a good position. I have that bounce. Now as I step, I lift up first and I extend. When you extend, you got to feel your hip flexor stretch. To get that to go the direction I want it to go, I have to, and you got to remember this, flare the knee. One of the most common mistakes. Flare the shin. If your shin is vertical, then it's almost guaranteed it's going to just slide up. And in a fight, when there's oil, Thai boxing fight, or even sweat, it slips. You've got to go in, otherwise it's going to be useless when the time comes. So don't train wrong, because it takes longer to unlearn than relearn. So here, boom, yep, that goes in. The bag goes back. So that's a good feedback for me. Boom, the bag goes back, and I have to make sure that I'm balanced. You know, I don't want to hit the bag and that's a fail. Yep. So where I start is where I finish. Don't forget the opposite hand has to stay up as well. So I will do this for, you know, a minimum of a minute rounds, back and forth. You add that into your workout. Very slow, just pop, pop, just repetition. When you do the switch, two options. You can either go push it back, land forward, or that's a little harder to do, or boom, go back to southpaw, step back to orthodox. Or practice both. You can do either in a fight. If the person's moving back, you can follow through and land forward. If the person's on the rope, the opponent's on the rope, and they're not moving back, you can knee, boom, you have to go back. Then you just step back into your orthodox, which is your power stance. Now we'll get the punches going. We'll start off just a jab, so you can focus on something small. So we'll start off with the jab. Yeah. Make sure you're fully extending. Clench your fist, firm wrist, punch, hitting with the whole square of your fist. Yep. You could use lateral movements as well. Add them in. Add in some lateral movements. Yep. Make sure that you're not crossing your feet. There is an exception. You can cross your feet, but don't learn that now. You want your default to be solid, which is keep your legs apart. So pay attention to your feet. Make sure you're 50-50 balance. Then you can add in your next punches. Same principle. Keep everything long. And then move. And then move. In between, you're going to add in a defense. So get into the habit of adding in a defense. Instead of hitting and just standing there, very simple one, and one that will go a very long way is block. So we're here, pop, pop, lift. So if you're still in the range of your opponent, you just lift that. So block your torso. It's like a fake. It's a deterrent. It'll usually stop the counter. So it's a good habit. So we're here, pop, pop, boom. If you want to add in the elbows, this is how you're going to elbow the bag. You have to elbow out slightly different than you would a person or a pad. So you don't tear up your skin. You don't want to bust it open. Then you're not going to train. So when you do the step up elbow, Aim to move the bag backwards. So aim to move it. Don't do this. So don't fully extend and then just touch it at the end. When you make contact, it's got to be more like almost vertical, and then as you're pushing the bag, it's coming up. They're the step up elbows. Push the bag back. Then when you do the cross elbows, you want to hit with all of this. Don't just hit with this. In a fight, you hit with this. On pads, you can hit with this. On bags, so you don't split up in your elbow, you hit with this. But just know the floor. Very easy to adjust. Then on pads or in a fight, you hit with the point. When you shadow box, you visualize the point. But only on bags, you hit with the whole chunk there. Yeah. If you have a long bag, when you do uppercuts, two ways, but the way I like to do it is, let's say, let the bag graze your glove. Let it graze. All right. Don't do this. See that angle? That there's a gap. So you want it to be dead straight up. So it's like a straight uppercut. You want the glove to touch it, not scraping too much, but just because that's simulating just a perfect straight uppercut. Sometimes you can go up like that too, but for me, I like to just go straight up and just keep it tight. I could feel the whole thing graze past. If you have a teardrop bag, that's even easier. So here, that's built for uppercuts. You can do two types of uppercuts. You got this one where the palm is facing you, and then this one where the palm is facing up. This one, slightly less power, but easy to get in. Easy to get in through a guard. This one, a little more power, a little bit more telegraphed, and you need more of an open guard to get in. But just play with both. It's easy. It's just a turn of the wrist. It's not hard at all. And you just play with that, you know. So I'll do the sly uppercut, then the bigger power ones. A good drill to do on the bags on your own. Punch with your knuckles, your fist, without the glove, just so you can feel where you're hitting. And especially if sometimes you get a little strain on your wrist and that, it's probably because you're not punching right. So when you punch, there's a few different ways. There's a few different ways to do it, but I tell everyone to hit with the whole square. Make sure that your wrist is straight. And when you do it without gloves, you can feel it and pay attention to where you're landing. So for example, you throw it and hold it there. And then just you have to hold it for like 10 seconds minimum. And pay attention, is the whole fist fitting through the bag? If not, because a lot of the times, I don't know if you can see, but see if there's a gap or if the knuckle's slightly off, all that strain is going through your wrist. So you want it to be dead straight. That also corrects your technique. So have a look. So let's say I went like, wait, I'll do a bad technique. Hold on, let me try a bad technique. So a bad technique, like that. Now watch, if I straighten it, yeah, that should be an uppercut. That self-corrects my technique. So for example, that's a bad hook. So if you can see the knuckles are not touching, look, and if I lift it up, look what it does to my elbow. It lifts my elbow up, which is the right technique. So it's kind of like a self-correcting way. So you don't need someone standing there doing every detail. You can figure out those details on your own by just sticking to this principle. So here, so we hit here, I hit it, wrong technique. Now if I turn it, see what it does to my elbow, my shoulder, it lines it up mechanically perfect, mechanically better, boom. So you can do that with every single punch. Here, you hold it, fix it, and go through all your punches like that, very slow. Sometimes you can start with that calibrates your technique, then put on the gloves, then go hard, but you've warmed up with good technique, and your performance will be better. Another good drill for punches is learning how to punch in tandem. Most people start off with, so they'll go jab, bam, so single shots. Right punch, left hook, so there's gaps, boom, boom. What you want to learn to do, and it doesn't mean you do this all the time, but you'll throw a punch, that winds up your next punch. And as this is coming back, the next one's going. Now, as this, the left is coming back, this one's going. As this is coming back, that goes. As this comes back, the knee comes up. So the body's moving in tandem together. Very simple way to practice this. And it's more of a feel. Once you get the feel, it clicks. So here, boom. Now as I pull that back, that's when that goes. As I pull this back, that's when that goes. Ha. 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 Next, you want to start mixing up your weapons. So instead of being 2-punch dominant, punch, 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 kick, you want to go punch to elbow to knee. Start off with two, a 2-shot combo. Don't do any more. Do 2, polish it up, make sure that 2 is as best as it can be before you add a 3rd. So an example would be, let's say, a punch with an elbow. That's easier than a punch with a kick or a punch with a knee. So to do that, let's go boom, and in tandem, as I pull this back, pop, I throw an elbow. And then I have to snap it back. So we'll go boom, pop, and then come back to your stance. Reset. Now with the bag, if you want to control the bag, don't let it move, don't do this. So if the bag's moving, you're gonna go control it by putting your arm out and hold it. That's what you would do in a fight. The shoulder touches the chin, like that. You know, so imagine if the bag's moving, you know, when people do that, it doesn't look good at all. It's super rookie. And it's not what you would do in a fight. You wouldn't hold someone, weight there. So it's moving, you know, I'm here. If I want to control it, that's one way to control it. Another way to control it, here, I just control it with my hand, or another way to control it, wait. So another way to control it, over here, I stop it with a strike. And I can put out my hand out there. So just remember that. The drill, you throw a punch, elbow. And you just repeat that. Punch, you can hold it there for a second. You should hold it there for a second. So you get the tandem part, so it moves it at the same time. Boom. Then, once you can do a punch and an elbow, or elbow and a punch, you can add in the bottom half, a knee. So for example, we'll go jab. Now as I pull this back, the knee just comes out. Boom. And I'm back to my stance. I was a bit off balance then, so I'll do it again. So jab, as the hand comes back, boom, knee. I can add jab, so jab, elbow, knee. Jab, elbow, knee. Normally what's easy to start with is if you go left weapon, right weapon, left weapon, right weapon. That's the easiest to flow, and you can put combos together fast. The pro is, it's easy to do and it's got more power. The con, it's more predictable in a fight. But don't worry, if you're just starting out, don't worry about that. You're gonna need to have that anyway in your toolbox. Left, right, left, right, left, right. A little more predictable, way more power. Good when you rock someone, like so. If you hurt someone, then you'll switch to your, like a power mode, and you rotate left, right, left, right. So you use the momentum for each side. Very important that you have 50-50 weight distribution on both legs. You don't want to be leaning too forward, too back. There are exceptions, but your default should be 50-50. And the reason for that is so you can check, so you can block kicks. If you're leaning too forward, you're throwing a punch, and they could kick you and you can't check. You can't shift back and check. So your default should be 50-50. Sometimes if you can get away with it, you'll put some weight on the front leg and throw punches and hurt your opponent, but you want to be able to do 50-50. And most people don't realize that they're leaning too forward or too back. But this exercise, you can find out straight away. So this is a really good drill just to train your balance, to calibrate that. So what you will do is you'll shadow box, check straight after. Make sure you can check. If your weight distribution is too forward, this is what would happen. You'd be like, and then you'll realize, oh damn, I can't check. It'll expose it straight away, very easy. Shadow box. And when I say shadow box, I mean punch and then check. So just throw punches. Throw punches, check straight after. A good, quick conditioning exercise at the end, or conditioning drills, is knees on bag, kicks on bag, punches on bag, high intensity. Normally I would give five 1 minute rounds, 30 to 1 minute break. That'll smoke anyone. So it looks easy, but do it with intensity, with speed. Practice balance. So these are conditioning drills, but they're also Muay Thai related. Conditioning meaning getting your fitness levels up, taking you to that max level, past 90%.